Hey folks, it's me again, ReekRock2001 here, making another video. I thought I'd show you my Tomee NES Dogbone controller. This is actually a good third-party Dogbone controller. It's not as perfect, or not as great as the NES one, but it's somewhat tolerable. Also, I've got my Phillips screwdriver because we're actually going to open this Dogbone controller. And also, I need to mention, before you actually open these, some Tomee Dogbone controllers have a QC Pass sticker right here. I already broke mine when I first got it because what's the point of having that? Plus I actually modified my Dogbone controller to actually feel what somewhat more worth the money. At first, when I first got it, the D-pad felt a little sunk in, but since I added something in here, it actually made it feel, well, more substantial. Let's go ahead and take the 5 screws out and show you what I mean. So here we go. There's 1, 2, 3, 'll come back to that one later. Oh. Unlike the Retro Bit one that I've done a video about, this one wants to come apart even if you have well, about all the screws out. Sometimes this thing does not want to stay together. Let's move the screws to the side, and here you have it. This is the motherboard, well, PCB I should say. Here's what I did to my Tomee Dogbone controller. If you ever opened up, I should mention, that piece of foam was not there originally. It was from my Super Nintendo controller, ironically made by Tomee, and this is also made by Tomee as well. I took the foam piece from the Super Nintendo controller made by Tomee. Unfortunately, my Tomee Super Nintendo controller stopped working. It was not the USB version. It was the normal one that plugged into the Super Nintendo console. It was actually pretty decent, but a wire, I tried stripping the wire to get it to work. It just didn't want to work anymore for whatever reason. So, but aside from that, at least I used something out of that, or something useful. Now let's take a look at the PCB. This is what it looks like. Looks completely different than your standard Nintendo one, don't you think? I better crap this thing. Oh, never mind. This is what the buttons look like. Got your A and B buttons. You cannot swap these two because the little indents are slightly different. This one has 2 tabs, this one has 3. You can swap the select and start. And the directional pad, look at that. It's just a flat piece. Now, there's a YouTube video on how to basically, well, modify your Tomee Dogbone controller to have a little circular piece there. To do that, you would have to get some kind of plastic piece on there, whether it being a miniature figurine base or a quarter or anything that's big enough to basically cover the whole. I dropped the piece, so let me go ahead and try to grab it. Aha! Got it! Alright, so here it is. Basically, you got your whole cross piece when there's supposed to be like a whole circle on here. The Retro Bit one has the whole piece, but it won't fit on. But that one won't fit here because this one actually has 4 raised spots right there, so it won't let you put in any other directional pad from any other controller. If you want to take one from like an official Dogbone, a Super Nintendo, or any other controller, you would actually have to modify this. And I wasn't able to put in the Game Boy one in this one for whatever reason. It was original Game Boy one, not for the pocket or the color, just to set the record straight. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this thing back together. And yeah, putting it back together, unlike the Retro Bit one that I took apart, it did not. There is no 6th screw in here that holds the PCB into place on the shell. So you're gonna have to, well, if only this would actually cooperate. Oh, lovely. One of the buttons, the select button, fell out. Bear with me. Okay, sorry about that. It just didn't want to go back in. Also, you want to be careful with these wires. If you break a wire, you're screwed. Let me just say that. So let's try to be careful here. And, well, stay in there. There we go. Now, hold this into place. Put this portion right, gotta make sure. And there we go. Now we can put this back together. So here you go. So for anyone who wants to modify their controller to basically actually make it feel like the official Nintendo directional pad, your options are basically put a circular piece and glue it onto the back of the directional pad, or basically try to modify this to actually work with a different controller pad. So, uh-oh, almost lost the screw there. Better be careful. And yeah, crud. Does not want to go in for whatever reason. Come on, screw, cooperate with me. I guess it's screwed. Oh, there we go. Ah, there we go. Now it wants to cooperate. Sometimes shaking it around will actually help. So now let's go ahead and screw this guy in. And now the last one. And there you have it. That's putting back a Tomee Dogbone controller. Let me just say, the buttons are very nice on here. Select and start are also pretty decent. The directional pad, before I put that piece of foam in there, it actually felt too mushy. That piece of foam actually makes a world of difference. So my recommendation is putting a piece of cardboard or foam in there, and then it will actually make the directional pad feel much better. So there you have it. I've already demonstrated the Tomee controller in action, so if you want to see videos about that, check my 2 other videos on me demonstrating this controller. I got nothing else to say for this video, so thanks for watching.